Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Yamunatira Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. Shil Prabhupada ki jai. Hi, it's a pleasure to be with you here once again. We're finished at 12 o'clock. Is that right? The message?
Yes,
Yes.
Class? 12 o'clock. Okay, great. I'm going to open up a Bhagavad Gita. And today's message is called This Song Can't Be Wrong. All right. You may wonder what's that all about. Okay. I'm going to make some reference to chapter 9 from Bhagavad Gita. And I have the good fortune to go to Cuba this Tuesday with a group of devotees. And the first time I went there, I was meeting these devotees and helping them a little bit in their training in their Krishna consciousness. So I got them to memorize one verse, and here it is, chapter 9, text 2. Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Aritram Idam Uttamam Rajakshabagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. Translation: this knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Srila Prabhupada offers a purport here, and it is quite lengthy. And what I want to highlight on this, in this particular, from this particular verse, is the last one, Susukam Karatum Avyayam. That the application of this wisdom is a joyful expression. And that's what is meant by Susukam Karatum Avyayam. I imagine some of you are familiar with that. When we were in Hamilton, was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
Right. Well, there's a restaurant there called Sukham. And this nice Gujarati family that runs the place close to the downtown. And they're open, their hours are open from 4 o'clock on Sunday. And our hours for the kirtan experience is from 1 to 3. So this is a very benevolent family that's allowing us to use their space. Susukam actually. That's the word that is used here. And if you have the book in your hand, the Bhagavad Gita, you'll see happy. Sukha means happy, but Susukam means very happy. So there's happiness that we experience comes in different states here in this world. There's something called Brahmananda, that's talking about joy that comes from the spiritual platform. That is something that if you follow the Mayavad Tattva, that truth, and you may enjoy some Brahmananda. You're familiar with it, right? That means you enter the Brahmajyoti and there's no scope for service or personal relationship. It's just like, I'm relieved from the suffering, from the pangs of material existence. And it would be like if you were a hell prison or something, and if you're, prison is hellish life because it's not so much the jail keepers, it's the person you share space with. They can be very rough on you, they can really give you a tough time. They might even, this is Yogendra from Yogendra? Yogendra all the way from Lunenburg, right? I'm just giving a class right now, just started in Scarborough, but everybody here just wants to say Haribol. 1, 2, 3.
Haribol!
So we can talk a little after if that's okay with you. Yeah, please do that. Okay? Yeah. So, wonderful devices. So Brahmananda, like say, let's go back to the being in the prison cell, and the people that you share a space with, many of them are angry, many of them are not mentally, like they're wired strangely, the wires didn't cross right, and you know, somebody might beat you up, and they might bang you against this wall. This is like, what do they call this, cinder block?
Wow.
Boom, 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 and tie your hands in the back, and then, it's extremely painful, you know, maybe your skull will crack. And these kind of scenarios are very normal in such a scenario. So when there's no banging, when it stops for a few seconds, what a relief. So that's a little bit like Brahmananda, you know. I'm not going through the pains of hangry and lamentation. I'm not feeling the good and bad of life, that chapala sukha, or I'm not experiencing matra sparsha stikonteya shitushna sukha dugada agama pahno nityas tamstatiksha swabharata. That's from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's a jazzy verse, and it's talking about, you know, let's say, pain and pleasure, and happiness and distress, winter, summer, you know, extremes, dualities, right? So when the dualities are over, when you hit a sort of level of numbness, you could say, like, if you're when doctors do some surgery on you, and I'm doing this because I had surgery here, they sedate you, right? And you can't feel anything there. Because if you did, wow, you'd be screaming in agony, you'd be kicking everybody in the place. So, yeah, so it's a little bit like that, being sedated and not having many feelings, but it's not real joy either at the same time. It's kind of like a neutrality situation. But really what Krishna consciousness is all about, it's about cultivating a relationship where there's love and there's a feeling of being really in joy because the other person is embracing you, hugging you, and that's what Krishna does. You know, when you engage in devotional service, he gives you a feeling of real, ultimate contentment, real ananda, not brahmananda, but real ananda, which can only be had on the spiritual level. So the reason why we chose the topic about this song is that the Bhagavad Gita is a song, and in just a few short days from now, I believe is it Tuesday or Wednesday? It's the 3rd of December.
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. Oh, thank you. We got a few extra days there. We can fit in. Saturday. Saturday is the anniversary of the Lord speaking Bhagavad Gita at Kurukshetra. Any of you lucky folks have been to Kurukshetra? Yeah, that's great. And we have a marvelous temple that's going up there, right close to the actual location. And it's been a long time since I've been there, but in the town of Kurukshetra, they have a big museum. It's called the Krishna Museum. And you can go in there, and they've got all kinds of, let's say, anything to do with Krishna's up there, you know, artistries and artifacts, even from Dwarka, that are found there, like, you know, edges of pillars and things like that. I was fascinated by the dice, you know, which are used in the time. They're not like square like we're used to. They're sort of rectangle. And really, that's what the Pandavas were used, you know. It's kind of interesting. So Kurukshetra is that place where we can be reminded of the great message that Rajavijayam, which is discussed here in this verse. And it's 700 shlokas or verses, and it is indeed considered a song. Gita means song, right? And but it's God's song. That's what makes it superior to anything, you know. And some people can spoil the song. You know? They can spoil it by taking the wisdom that's there and putting some distortions to it, like giving a Mayavad flavor or something like that. even Mahatma Gandhi, he accepted, well, he didn't accept that Krishna was a personage. He accepted that Krishna is, that this whole idea about the Pandavas and the Kauravas, it's kind of like a device for us to understand that there's conflict within. And we do accept that version, but we also accept that this is a historical event, and that Krishna was, he is the Pandit that he is, and he spoke this wisdom. But some people will take this song and distort it. Well, let's go back to the 60s. Anybody been around the 60s? I'm the only one? Anybody who lived through the 60s? Okay. Now there was a song by an artist, her name was Melanie. She's quite good. And she wrote a song, "What have they done to my song, Mom? What have they done to my song?" So in other words, she's addressing like the music industry, that they want to make you like a hot, entertainer. They will try to suggest, well, you should do this and do that and this and that, and kind of take the original song which you have written, if you are, a writer of the lyrics, the author of the lyrics. They will try to adjust things like that, and it's a very exploitative industry, as many of you may have, read about, heard about, or experienced yourselves. So everything can be distorted, even Krishna's divine words. I mean, how dare people come along and try to take the words of Bhagavan and twist it around, I mean, when we were young, we had silly putty, and you could, twist them. Am I old still?
We have 2 more hours.
Just steal it.
We still have it.
It's still there. It's fun, right? You put it,
Play-Doh.
and you go, Play-Doh, that's right. And you kind of like warm it up, and it gets a little bit, let's say, more pliable than normal. It's not hard and stiff like the butter comes out of the refrigerator. It's a little bit more flexible and pliable. So, and then you put it to the newspaper, especially the funnies, or somebody you don't like, Put the Play-Doh in there and then distort the face, make the ears go way up and elongate the nose and put a funny head to it by stretching it all out. So that's what people do with divinity. They do that as well. And Bhagavad Gita is no exception. Where so-called pundits and people who consider themselves thinkers and thoughtful individuals will take the 700 verses and distort it to suit their own means. And the motive oftentimes as well to get recognized as some kind of a scholar or pundit. Wow, and gullible people, which we mostly are. We're mostly gullible individuals. We accept, yes, oh yeah. And don't take the time to thoroughly go through some kind of analysis, some kind of Sankhya approach. And so we just kind of accept blindly, what is being presented to us. And we can read about this in the introduction of this Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada just goes page after page. It's such a wonderful, opening to the Bhagavad Gita is to Prabhupada's own words and his deliberations. And he talks about an American woman who's asking, why do we need another Bhagavad Gita? There's so many Bhagavad Gitas out there. And during that time, 60s, again, sorry to keep referring to the 60s, but there were about 600 to 700 different versions of Bhagavad Gita that were fairly popular. Now that's then. Now, advance, fast forward another 60 years, and how many different versions of the Gita do you think there would be right now? An awful lot more, And Srila Prabhupada put a little addition to the Bhagavad Gita. I was hoping to see the cover, but it's not here. Anyways, Bhagavad Gita, which means Song of the Divine, Song of Bhagavan. And then he added to it, as it is. People who were involved in the computer world, MIT, whatever, they may like Prabhupada's title, Bhagavad Gita, as IT is. Because it's got a word that they can relate to, it. And why is it as it is? Because Prabhupada's rendition is coming, it's not a distorted view, it's not someone's creative mind being laid out in the form of these verses. And the purports, we're talking about a tradition, a parampara. So you've got your books in your hands there, you can look at chapter 4 and text number 2. This chapter 4 is called Transcendental Knowledge. And the Gita's origin is somewhat expressed, so we can understand the tradition a little bit better. Sorry, I got a frog here. So some of us are losing our voices. Evam parampara praptam. Would you like to go through it? Evam parampara praptam. Go ahead. Let's try it one more time. Evam parampara praptam.
Evam parampara praptam.
Imam rajasyo viduhu.
Imam rajasayo vidu.
Sakalineha mahata.
Sakalineha mahata.
Yogo nashta parantapa.
Yogo nashta parantapa.
And in this shloka, it's made clear as to the origin of this wisdom. Of course, it's coming from Krishna. Krishna speaking to Vivaswan, who's the sun god, and then the sun god speaking to Manu, the father of mankind, and the progenitor. Manu speaking to a great pious king, ISCKON. But this is the way the knowledge was handed down through disciplic succession. A series of Raja and Rishi, a combination. The Raja means, king, and the Rishi refers to somebody who's not a king, but somebody who's very detached from the world. Usually we talk about kings. Kings are very attached. They're objects to they're really, this is mine, and don't cross, no trespassing, all that kind of stuff. But up to a point, and if you're trained in the Vedic sense, then you will just say, well, now I'm retired, and I'm just going to leave my crown. I'll put it right on the throne, and I'm going to renounce my royal attire, and I'll just walk out pretty much almost with a loincloth on, and that's it, So they were trained in such a way to be detached from this world. This is a great qualification to being a receptacle of receiving the message of the Gita and conveying it. That you have to show detachment from the world. As Krishna explains elsewhere in the Gita, he says, Bhaktos sikhi chiti rajas yam yetad uttamam. He says, you have to be a bhakta, you have to show devotion, and you also have to show that you are a friend, sakha, that you are my friend. So 2 qualifications basically have to be there, to be on the receiving end in a good way, and then to deliver what you just heard to someone else. So this is how disciplic succession, parampara, worked in the past and continues to work for us to this present day. By Krishna's mercy, we have got Srila Prabhupada, who in our time was the perfect exemplar of what is bhakti. And now there's an expectation from his side that we will also be good examples, and that we live the part, we live this truth, we live the Bhagavad Gita. We should be moving Bhagavad Gitas. Basically, we should be like a library, the divine library that we can carry on in our life in such a way that people will be inspired. So this is significant, and sometimes this is called a chain, and sometimes chains are broken, and just the chains are, I think everybody understands the concept. It's like a metal that's looped together like this, but sometimes it can break somewhere, so it could cause a break. This is what happens with the disciplic succession also, that there can be not a proper teacher in some particular phase in time, and then you can say the wisdom kind of goes underground, or just gets buried over. Sometimes people ask also, well, what do we do about those big periods in history where you've got a big gap? Well, we know about this teacher. He was here for such a length of time. He lived for so long. And then the next teacher in this queue is coming 2 or 3 centuries later on. So looks like it's being broken up, chopped up all the time. So the answer to this question is, there's somebody really special in our lineage who keeps hooking it together and is always there for us to see that there's a preservation of the wisdom. And his name starts with a V. Anybody know? It's not Vishnu. Vyasadeva, yeah. Vyasadeva is there, and apparently he's still living somewhere, and he's the one that keeps it all, like rolling out wisdom. But we shouldn't inconvenience him and just say, Prabhupada gave us the wisdom, and now it's finished, there's no qualified people. Well, if you're not qualified, then if there aren't any, why don't we get qualified? Why don't we get? And what does the qualification be for a person who's a proper teacher of Bhagavad Gita? This song is you live an honest life full of integrity and honesty, and we can get some good ideas from the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 42. Some qualifications are there. Shall we flip over to that? Yeah, let's do it. Since I'm inspired to ask you to flip because you've got Bhagavad Gitas in your hand. Right? So let's go to 1842. And so, Samodamastra Shaucham Shantir Arjavam Evacha Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam Brahma Karma Swabhavitam. And so these are some of the qualifications for an individual who is, let's say, a good candidate for being a teacher of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so you have to be peaceful. You don't have, let's say, if somebody's always emotional and erupting like a volcano, lava coming out and being angry and all those kind of things, this disqualifies you. Then there has to be some discipline, self-control. Self-control, austerity, that's the next one. They're very similar. Oh my God, Hare Krishna. I hope I didn't say something wrong. Pure, there has to be pure motivations. One has to be very tolerant. That's there as well. Honest, and one has to be somewhat wise, and also express wisdom. Jnana and Vijnana, that's Prabhupada all the times translates that as you have to be wise, and Vijnana means make application to your wisdom. And then there has to be just good old astikyam. It's called to be wise, to be dharmic, just be proper in your behavior. So these are the qualities by which a Brahmin should work. So some of us might say, well, I'm not a Brahmin, my parents were not Brahmins, and we're Shudras, we come from the, my ancestors worked in the sugarcane plantations, like 8 hours a day sweating it out and so like that. But the thing is that it doesn't matter what is your background. If you fit these qualifications, if this is the right shoe, was it Cinderella? She had to have the right gown, because I think, I get my fairy tales mixed up sometimes. There has to be this right fit here. And then because we brought to your attention from the 4th chapter, text 2, that Kshatriyas were also in a position to disseminate the knowledge. And here are their qualifications. Let's look at the next one. 18.
18.
18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. 18. So that's 1843. So to be heroic is one thing. Shaurya, teja, you have to be powerful. You know, you have to be healthy, strong. I mean, I think we all have experience when we're in ill health, when we're bedridden or something, we don't think straight. And but a person who's physically fit in body, mind, and so on, they're able to be effective. And then there's the next point is vritti. You have to be a determined kind of person. You have to know how to focus when it comes to some task, something that has to be done. There's also the sense of being resourceful, you know, being able to, you know, supply, have provisions. Courage in battle. We don't have to be squeamish about conflict, but when the truth has to come out, Kshatriyas, they're known to physically go out in battle. And then generous, I think everyone will agree it's a good quality. After all, it's Christmas time. I remember a few years back, myself and a few devotees at the temple, we were in Toronto having some discussion to deal with some temple community matters. And it was Christmas time, there's lots of snow. And somebody walked in, one of our neighbors, we're going back about 25, 30 years ago. And they came, they saw us, a bunch of us sitting there, didn't see anybody else. They came up and Govindas walked to us. Okay, and they just said, you know, there's a lot of snow over there on Avenue Road, and I know that maybe it's not attached to your property, but if it could just, somebody might be able to just take that snow shovel and remove the snow right up to Marlborough Street, which is the next street over, you know, in the spirit of Christmas, in the spirit of giving, you know. So they were just sort of poking at us a little bit. Said, well, let's be generous, let's be kind, let's be in the giving mood. Okay, so that's another. And finally, there's leadership qualities. That means you move people, you stir them, you know. You're a people mover. That's what Kshatriyas were known to be. They're people movers. They get things done, you know. They're influential by their words, or sometimes, you know, a weapon has to be there. We gotta move, otherwise, it's a little point in your direction. So, looking at the Bhagavatam, our studies, you know, where we have stories about Brahmins and Kshatriyas, more particularly, you know, we don't hear too many stories about people of other sort of backgrounds or vocations. We hear mostly about Brahmins and Kshatriyas because they are the upholders of Dharma. And that's the way it's been forever and ever. And some of the stories are interesting, or let's call it a song. Let's go there. The Bhagavatam is another song. The Bhagavad Gita is one song. And they're songs about people who are struggling in some cases, and then they overcome their difficulty, and they come out on the other end after their long journey of struggle to be heroes, you know. And those are the kind of songs we like to hear anyways, right? Isn't it like that about Bollywood stories? No, it's just, it has to be a happy ending, right? So, like the story of Romeo and Juliet, or the modern day version West Side Story, there's all two people fall in love, and they, you know, there's struggle, there's the two camps, they just don't get along with each other. And in the end, Romeo and Juliet, they pass on, and people go, oh my God, he's so tragedy. It shouldn't be like that. Yeah. But we all want a happy ending. And the happy ending will come from when you apply. And just like people like to hear a happy song. It was Bhaktimarga who picked this up, and he generously played his, was it CD or whatever? And he played for us George Harrison's My Sweet Lord, right? Which is a happy tune. It sort of builds up. It just builds up, you know, in pitch and everything. So you feel so liberated in the end. And that's what we want to go. That's what the song is all about. So now, looking at different genres of music, over the decades, a lot of the music, if it's okay to say, current music, it's very Tamasic, like really the mode of ignorance. It's real, the words, the message. It's a lot about hopelessness, a lot of anger. I'm gonna, I'll kill you. And that passes as music, unfortunately. So those are wrong songs. That's not what we want to resort to. But some people live by that mode, so they identify with it. Yeah, that's the way I feel. This songwriter is also feeling that way. I feel that way, and it builds up, and before you know it, you got a globe full of people who have got this nasty tendencies, just crush everything, kill, destroy, kill the cops, and that kind of stuff. These are wrong songs. And of course, there's some merit to it, because I hate to say it, in India, there's a lot of corruption amongst the police. They'll do anything for a bribe. It's so much lacking in honesty. And this is why India needs an overhaul, like anywhere else on the planet, Anywhere else, there's corruption. And coming from the people that are supposed to protect Dharma, right? I think you know what we're talking about. Any bribe. I remember I was the temple president of the Toronto Temple, and I would purchase things for the temple, because we didn't have a big supportive system at that time. We're talking about 80s, early 80s. And so I remember struggling, dragging my luggage and the things that I bought for the Toronto Temple, for the deities and everything. And then there were some airport officials that came, and these are, people that are, they're not Kshatriyas necessarily, but they're kind of in charge. And, I needed some help, and they offered me some help. They helped. It wasn't someone, okay, so, after the job was done, they carried some of my luggage. Okay, like the hand went out, and I'm a sannyasi also. Seva. So there's this corruption that exists, all over the world. And even our Kshatriyas around the world, pretty much they'll do something just because they're getting paid. If they do a good deed without funds, it doesn't enter into their purview, so they just... this is a sad case, and it's definitely a reflection of what is Kali Yuga. Right? So, everybody's been singing some songs. Everybody's got favorite songs. I remember we did a play some years ago. It was called Big Fish, Little Fish, and we did background music. And we had Frank Sinatra's Strangers in the Night. Okay. And I remember one of our devotees, oh Maharaj, you played my most favorite song of all. Okay. But it is a kind of a romantic piece. It's not all that bad. It's got some rajas in there, passion. But really where we want to go is to, hop on to that music or those songs that are going to liberate us and which will cultivate a sense of prema, love, right? Love is what it is. Most of the songs are lustful, am I right? Or a break from lust. I hate you, you left me. It's always a turn on, I love you, and then the reverse is, I left you, you left me, and all that kind of stuff. That resonates. You know what we're talking about here. So real love, we have to be convinced, is with Krishna. Everything else is going to be temporary, and it's going to not be very satisfactory. Short-lived. So let's work on that. Let's try to get the right song down and resort to those songs. And that's why we chant, and we do bhajans, and we do kirtans, and we do sankirtan. That means a whole bunch of people doing the kirtan together. And we also do japa, that's also kind of a song. And what's nice about the song is that Krishna, you who are all attracted, please, and Radha, please engage me in your service. Allow me to do something for you. I mean, that's Krishna caroling. You know, when people do Christmas caroling, deck the halls with bells, whatever, Hare Krishna. Jingle bells, and then there's various categories of songs amongst the Christmas carols. Nothing comes to my mind right now. I guess I live in the temple, I live in a bubble. Right? You know, "O come all ye faithful," Bethlehem, something a Bethlehem song. Silent night, holy night. You all know it? 1, 2, 3. Silent night, holy night, all is gone, all is right. They're talking about Janmashtami and Krishna's born. You know, and of course it does make reference to Jesus. And these are good songs, very devotional and full of bhakti. There's no doubt about that. But then there's the other little, you know, so Holly Jolly Christmas, yeah, Jingle Bells, Dreaming of a White Christmas. What is that one about? You know,
I saw Santa kissing.
Santa, yeah. Some roasting nuts at the floor, fireplace or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, chestnuts. And you're going to hear a lot of that. I have to tell you something, I'll make a confession. Christmas really helped me to be a devotee. Because I was, you know, for the whole month of November and December back in 1972, it's just wherever you went, you were hearing this. And it's so commercially driven, you know. There's no real bhakti behind it. It's just, I want your money, I want your money, I want spend here, spend here. I don't care if you go broke, it doesn't matter, as long as my pockets get full. And I was, you know, I was so disgusted about it. And during that time of just being disgusted, I met some devotees, and they came with the song book called Bhagavad Gita. It was at the corner of, well, just one of those, in Sudbury, Ontario. It was wintertime, and there were 5 devotees there who were chanting, and it was kind of after the shopping hours, and I acquired Bhagavad Gita, and I, you know, picked up on their spirit, which was a giving one. Said, "Are you guys?" I was asking them, these, you know, bald-headed guys. I said, "Are you guys? Where are you staying at night? Where are you staying?" I said, "Well, we were staying in the church basement, but we don't have that option tonight." I said, "Oh, I'll just be in my place." And so they came, and we had a really good time. And that was kind of like 1972, around Christmas time. And then they introduced me to the real songs, the Mahamantra, and others. And I felt like, yeah, this is really where it's at. And I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to give it a try. I will sing this song. And I asked for, they didn't have extra beads, so I sent for, you know, I sent some money. I said, "Please send me some beads." So they did, and started chanting japa. And then I asked the question, and another letter with an envelope. It's a big deal. I received actually a letter from Whitehorse the other day from the Yukon. It says, "Oh no, oh my God, I have to answer this letter with with paper, and I put an envelope and send it off. What a hassle." So I sent in the mail a letter to the devotees in Toronto. Said, "Tell me, what is the purpose of Maya? Why is Maya here?" And the answer was, the purpose of Maya is to protect Krishna from those who are not sincere. I says, wow, that's a mind blower when you think about it. Does Krishna need protection? Not really. But the sentiment is very proper. It's very appropriate. So yesterday we were in front of old City Hall, and we were doing Krishna caroling. While people are shopping and buying things and going a little bit crazy with their spending, we were spending our time singing the Mahamantra with various melodies. something like that. And, Radha Mohan, who lives right here in Scarborough, he's such a hero, he and his wife, Shama Mohini, and their 2 kids. They're totally sold out to the whole Sankirtan system. Totally sold out to singing this song, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which has nothing but happiness behind it, and hope. And they also run the school that we have, the Vedic Roots School, so I just have to take a moment to really appreciate them so much. And Radha Mohan's playing away, and the other woman making some moves, and smile, he's telling everyone intermittently, smile, we love your smile, and yeah, and if someone starts dancing to the music, hey, woo! So where there's usually a song, there's also movement. People are, let's say, compelled to make movement, and so we hit the nail on the head, or they have, and that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. It's not about fighting; it's about dancing. And I think all of us are kind of impressed when you see martial artists, going at each other, because it is a kind of a dance. It's a beautiful movement, and and there's noise. There's always some noise, to when there is even a conflict, a fight, a combat, and it can come out to be quite beautiful. But what about having conflict with Maya? I said, listen, I'm going to put my dukes, with you. I've had enough. So I know you don't like it, but I'm going to chant these mantras. And it's going to make me feel better. And it's good for you too. I know it hurts, but it's good for you, okay? And then eventually Maya will say, yeah, okay, I will surrender. We have a beautiful story with Haridas Thakur, who was approached by the prostitute, and she was commissioned by, a not so nice guy. And I said, I want to break this sadhu's will. I want to bring him down on his knees. I want to expose him that he's just a phony, He isn't what profile tends to be. So I want to expose him. And so this prostitute came, and you say representation of Maya, and Haridas Thakur was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. And this lady, she was just trying her best to break his will with poses and postures and so on like that. And he was saying, don't worry about a thing. I don't want to put you in anxiety. We'll take care of your needs, but I just still have to do my jump up first. Right? So he kept chanting, and she got tired. She went away, started yawning and went away. And she came back a second time and a third time. On the third occasion, something wonderful happened. She was just listening to this Maha Mantra on and on. And again, it's a song. And she picked up on it and said, well, if you can't win them, join them. So can't beat them, join them. Okay, so she started Hare Krishna, along with him. And so eventually she came and said, I think I like you in a different way. I don't know how to love you. That's another song from Jesus Christ Superstar, right? I don't. Mary Magdalene, the prostitute, approaching Jesus. You're not like the other people I know. Not like all the other men who are lustful. So you're a different kind of person, so I don't know how to love you. It's a different love. So anyway, she got serious, and she even shaved her head off and became like Haridas Thakur. Became a renunciant, like a nun, and got into becoming a very pure-hearted Vaishnava. So that's a good story. A story with a happy ending.
Yeah.
So at this time of the year, we like to promote Krishna consciousness. So we like to share the book. We like to share the song. And we have opportunities to do that through Shastra Dan. That means giving in charity through the form of delivering the wisdom that's contained. Isn't it nice to have songs that have depth in them? You know, there's something poetical about it instead of just something really kind of silly. You know, it really, a repetition of a silly line that goes on, and people love it. Oh, it's wonderful, and it's a classic. Really? My God. But if you have something with beautiful poetry in it, then it's really something to embrace. So we are encouraging all of you, the community here of Scarborough, to get behind the book distribution, share with your friends, your family, your neighbors, this wisdom Bhagavad Gita somehow, and sponsor these literatures and these songs, and share the song, and be like an angel. Where is Gandharva? Everybody knows Gandharva Loka. Have you heard about it? The Gandharva people from the Gandharvas are known to be like angels, and they share songs with others. You know, songs, Vedic songs. So that's what we want to do. Share the best song that there is, and that is Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Do we have any questions or comments that anybody may have? Somebody's singing a song.
Singing Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Lots of energy, restless. And that's another thing, like kids love to chant, they love to sing.
Yeah.
No questions then? Okay, then without looking at your Bhagavad Gitas, where do we find the reference to where Krishna is saying that this wisdom is the king of all kings, the king of education? 9 chapter, what verse?
Second verse.
Okay, great. And where do we find in the Bhagavad Gita the message of the people that have taken the responsibility to deliver the song?
Chapter 4, verse 2.
Yeah, 14. That's great. That's great. And where do we find the verse in the Gita which gives a list of the qualifications for those who are in the best position to receive and also to deliver?
1842.
1842. So we concentrate on 3 shlokas, 3 pieces of the song. Put them all together, and you've got a real nice rendition. Thank you. Yes, we have a question.
In one purport, I believe Prabhupada says in Kali Yuga we're all Shudras.
Yes,
So, but we can still aspire to the qualities of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas.
that's right. We do the best we can. It's hard to find purity in Kali Yuga. You're referring to Kalau Shudra Sambhava. That means like in this age, Kalau, everybody is kind of like low class. But still, the best will come out of you if you go through a little bit of training and be in the right company. You know? Like there's a Brahmin in all of us who really, we just have to take a little time for the cultivation.
Thank you.
It may not be perfect. It may not be perfect, pure devotees, but you apply yourself. You get to as close to that platform as possible. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you for listening. I guess we are now. We also wanted to offer our respects to Mother Dwarka, our dear TP, Red Temple president, who's gone through major challenges physically, and we are very endeared to her for her constant seva, her amazing attitude of thick and thin. She'll just go through rises early in the morning, gets her japa done, does her puja, goes to work, takes care of family members, other challenges, manages this place, go to the Toronto Temple, cook, do some puja, and whatever else. Wow. Amazing. What an inspiration. Yeah. What a great song. You could write about her. All right, so thank you so much, everyone here.